So this is a bit I'm inserting at the beginning, hopefully. So if you're going to watch the rest of it, just watch the first part right through before you do anything. I make a mistake at the beginning, but it's easily rectified. I just don't want you to make that same mistake if you're literally following along. So just watch it through for a few minutes before you start. Hello, and we're back again with another of these tag ephemera holder thingies that I'm doing. I thought if I was going to do 50, I better get a move on, because I think we're only on number 12. And Crafty Cat has started another series of 50, so you know, I'm not going to be short of prompts, that's for sure. It's dark outside now, so I've had to bring in my big lamp, so we'll see how that goes. So this was last year's Tracy one. It's an envelope with a dangle and a tag inside. That's what I made for her December daily last year. I really liked this one. Liked the design. Tracy's pretty brilliant at that. And I really liked how mine turned out. I've adapted it very slightly, but not much for this little tutorial that I'm going to do. And I've actually made 2 of these already because I enjoyed making them so much. The prompt is crimped paper. I don't have a paper crimper, so I have crimped or ruched this bit of tissue paper just to match the prompt. Got dangle on the back, and inside there is a tag. So it's an envelope with a tag and a dangle. So a fair bit to get through on this one. It's a little more to it than some of the others. That one's quite cool as well. Just going to have a quick look and see if I bought that. Yeah. Okay, so I haven't chosen an image yet. I might do another of these prayer card ones. I quite liked, this is Ruby and Pearl prayer cards, and I liked those, so I think I might have a go at this one. I'm going to use my envelope maker, my We Are Memory Keepers envelope maker, to make my envelope, but I'm also going to show you a way of doing it without. So let's start with the envelope maker, and I've got a piece of paper. This is to fit the sort of 6.5 by 3.5 guess check thing that Crafty Cat was doing. So this is 8 5/8 by 8 5/8, and I'm going to mark it at 3, measure it to 3. So this is 8 5/8 by 8 5/8, and I'm just going to score along here. I've actually got an index piece of card paper from the back of a book, botanical book. And this should give us our basic envelope. You'll see when I do it that it's too big, because I'm just easing it over slightly as I fold it. I just wanted it slightly narrower, there we go. And you'll see that this will need to fold back. We'll sort that out in a moment. And the way I deal with this is just to basically draw a line down here between the two where they cross over. So that's here and here. I'm going to cut that off. And then on this one, I'm going to cut it a little shorter, just so that we've got an overlap. So I want to do it about here. This one's not so vital. So that'll fold over neatly like that. We'll glue that. The bottom, fold up. You can leave it like that if you'd like to. I actually prefer mine, again, straightened up. So I am just lining this up with my mat. Sorry if you can see my head there. And I'm just going to round these corners as I go. So that's, oh no, I didn't do it that way. Cut that too short. Oh, bother. I should have done it taller. It needed to come up to here. Okay, I'll sort that out in a minute. Don't do what I just did. Let's start again. Okay, I'm back on track. I just remembered what I did wrong there. So I'm folding the top flap down and rounding that off with a 1/2 inch. Okay, this is too long. It's the way the envelope maker works. So what I actually did was measure this down the 6.5 inches, fold that up, and worked it from there. So I cut off these pieces. I did prepare some of these quite a while ago, so to excuse me for the odd error. I didn't write myself very good instructions either. So that still works in exactly the same way, but we've got enough leeway here to go. Let's just take a little bit more off there. So I'm just doing this again. I'm going about this far down. It's 1/2 inch or so. There we go, that's better. I'll leave my little mistake in. Hopefully it won't bother you too much. But there we go. There's our envelope that measures 3.5, just over actually in this case, by 6.5. So that's what we were aiming for. We got there in the end. So that's that one. I'm going to show you now how to do an envelope or something similar without a board. So I'm doing it on some music paper, and I've got a piece of card that's a bit less than our 3.5 by 6.5. It's about 3 3/8 by 6 3/8, and I'm putting it approximately in the middle, and I'm folding this end, this side over tightly to my card. Okay, I'm marking that all the way down. Then I'm moving it across ever so slightly, because I want room to put a card inside, and I'm folding this side down the same, trying to make sure that everything is lined up and straight as I'm doing it. Okay, and then we do exactly the same top and bottom. So we go over that way, and I'm leaving a bit of a gap at the top and folding over that way. So we've got our 4 squares here that we need to get rid of. that's going to be the bottom. So we'll sort that out in a minute. The top, I'm going to start off by just doing the same, by cutting off the light's not brilliant, I can't really see. Okay, so you can see the makings of our envelope here. I am going to point this as best I can. So I'm going to look for a centre point. So what have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3. So this is pretty much the centre. So I can cut these off. You can curve that by eye, should be fine. So that's our top piece. Now it's up to you really whether you take this out. I would like it sloped a little bit just because it makes the getting everything in and out easier. So the first thing I'm going to do is take off this rough edge here. This is where I tore it out of the music book. And just see how much overlap we've got. I mean, I'm quite comfortable with that. We can glue that so that it fits in nicely. And the bottom, I want about 1/2 inch or so. This needs a little smidgen more taken off it. You should be a bit more rounded. Sorry, I think I'm going out of camera. Okay, and then at the top here, I'm just going to go down about 1/2 inch. Have a look at that. And that's okay, that works fine. I think it would be best if we took a little bit off here as well. There you go. So then we've got a dip here, that'll all glue up and that'll fold down. So what I might do, this one I think looks as if it's slightly over, so that's 3 5/8 by 6 1/2. That's okay. We'll make up both of these and see how they go. So bear with me a few minutes and then I'll be back. Right, before I go any further, I'm going to try and show you how I crimp my paper or make a paper ruffle. So I've got a piece of tissue paper here. It's about 16 inches long, but that's not vital. And I've got my little sewing machine here, and I've got it threaded up with a pale, you know, a matching thread to this for the moment, because I just want to do a straight stitch. And the way I'm going to start is just by putting a little tuck in it, little pleat, popping this under the presser foot so that the needle is more or less in the middle. You see that? And then I'm just going to, as I go along, I just push this up. It's really hard to show you, but I just push it up with this spiky thing as I go. make the ruffle. So let's see how we get on. So that's it. That's all there is to it. And that's my paper crimped, ready to sew with a zigzag, and I'll probably use a darker thread onto the actual piece. So we've got enough for 2 on here. I'm just going to tear those roughly in half. Just need to cut it where the thread is. I can shorten those a little bit if we want to when the time comes. Now, you don't want to glue these. We're going to do all the decoration before we glue them together. So the first thing I'm going to do is go around this, inside this fold line. So inside this fold line with a row of stitching. I'll show you on this one. Like this. So I'm going to rethread my machine with a grey or a brown thread, and do that obviously with it out like this, otherwise we'll be stitching it together and I don't want to do that inside these fold lines. So I'll do that and then I'll be back. Okay, so it's actually the following day, so I've got to remember where I was with this. I've got these 2 prayer cards. They're from a set by Ruby and Pearl, which I think many of you will know Heather, who does some very beautiful shabby chic work that I would love to be able to emulate, but somehow can't quite. Oh, I messed that up now. Can't quite emulate. My neat freak steps in. I'm just going to put it on this card instead. I think that's talking while I'm crafting is not always the easiest for me, which is why I don't do sort of proper full-on junk journal with me type videos. Right, let's try again. So I'm mounting this onto some cream card. You can see I just tacked the middle down there. I didn't bother doing the whole thing. That's because I'm going to stitch. So I'm just going to show you how I set this up, because all of this is going to take place before we put the envelope together. So I'll pop this, I'm just going around the edges a little bit as well, the very edges, towards the top of the envelope, like that. Do this one. So that's going to be, and what I'm going to do with these is zigzag around the image here. So that's going to be a zigzag. And then I'm going to also stitch the ruffles on before I finish. So I've got some lace. And again, I just want to tack this down. So I think glue stick should hold it enough. Pop that up and then we can see what how much we've got dangling down. So that's that one. And I've got, this is part of the ruffle I made. I don't want it to be too far past the edges, so let's just tear this off here. So we'll pop that on as well with a little bit of glue. Stick with the glue stick. So all I'm going to do with that, now I've tacked it in place, is zigzag from around here to around here, just to attach that down. So I'll go away and do that, and then I'll be back. Right, so the stitching's all done. This is what it's going to look like on the front. I felt these needed a bit more decoration, so I've just got a silk hydrangea and a little pearl button. I'm just going to stitch this on the bottom corner like this. I've just got a needle with some embroidery thread in it. I'm not quite sure where I'm coming up, so I'll just poke through the back there. And this I just tie in a flat, what I call a reef knot. I think some people call it a flat knot. So it's left over, right and under, right over, left and under. Cut that off shortish. Can ruffle those up if you like. And then we just need to put the envelope together. So to do that, hopefully my glue will work. I want to close the sides first. So let's see if this glue will work. No, this is going to be the longest video I've ever made, I think. A lot of it is trying to get my glue to work. There we go. So down that edge, down that edge, so just make sure the two edges are sealed. And then this bottom piece. Better to have that on the outside, and then anything, there's too much glue there, anything you put inside slides in more easily. It's going to have glue marks all over it, but never mind. Do the same for this one. Put some of that runny glue in, so it's probably coming out a bit faster than it would normally with these. Okay, so we've got our envelopes. The next stage, let me just pop this back in. Although I think it's making them rusty, which isn't helping, so I have to find a steel pin. So with the originals, we had a dangle on the back, so I'm going to do the dangle first and then make the inside. First thing I did was reinforce, let's do it on this one, was reinforce this area, and I just used my whale tail punch for this. You haven't got a whale tail punch, just a circle, anything really that can just go around the edge of this. I just stuck it on like that and then rounded it off just followed it round with my scissors, so I'll show you that. And then we're going to make the dangle. For the dangle, I've got a punch. It's this one. I think this is We Are Memory Keepers. Oh no, woodware. So it's a little tag punch, and I'm going to do the same thing. And what I do is punch it 3 times out of a lightweight card and once out of an image. So I'm going to go away and do that, and then I'll be back. Okay, so this bit is all a little bit fiddly. It might take me a bit of time. So obviously feel free to skip by if you prefer. So let's get this on first. I want to just position it so that I can't see any of the white. Oops. And it probably makes it easier if you cut that off first. So while I just wait for that to dry a little bit, these are my 3 punched. And the reason I do 3 with an image on the top is to give it a sort of chipboard, heavyweight feel about it. Just line those up. And this is the image. I've just cut this from one of the prayer cards. Little some roses on there. That's our little dangle made. That just needs to dry for a few minutes, and we will, so many pairs of scissors, just going to snip a little bit off there just so I can see where we're going with it. Okay, let's do it by eye. I think that's how I did it the first time. Go slowly, you can sort of feel where you're going with that. So that's our reinforced top bit. So now we need to put an eyelet in there and in there. And in there. And then we dangle it on a little bit of chain. So I've got a piece of chain, hopefully you can see that. The length isn't crucial, mine's about 3 inches long. So the idea is to pop this through there, through there. And then we join these 2 ends. Well, the way I'm doing it is joining these 2 ends. Something heavy in there to hold that in place. With a jump ring. So again, this is fiddly. Just scroll on by for this bit because I probably won't be able to do it first time on camera. So I'm opening my jump ring. And that's one end of the chain. That's the other end. If you've got some of that ball chain with the little fasteners, that probably is an easier way to do it. So that's our little dangle on the back, and we will be clipping this. So all we need to do now is make the inside tag, and the inside tag measures 3 1/4. Just got to measure it so that it fits in here. So 3 1/4 by 6. So I'm going to cut a piece of card 3 1/4 by 6, and then I'll be back. Right, I'm just going to try and go through this quickly to finish it off because this is really long. I've got my piece of card which is 3 1/4 by 6. I've got an image which is 2 1/4 by 4 mounted onto some cream paper. I'm going to cover this with book page paper, and this is how I'm going to do it. The reason I'm showing you this is just because of the way I attach the image. I want to line this up as best I can, straight. Let's do it this way. Somebody asked me which, what book this is that I use for covering things. And my favourite, one of my favourites, is this Pitman's commercial typewriting book. Trouble is they're not easy to get hold of now. So what I do then is cut around. And then when I get to this corner, I'm just going to go off like that. And then I'm going to stitch my image on before I do anything else, so that when I stitch it on, the stitching won't show through to the back when I fold this over. I mean, you can do it all sorts of ways. You can just cover one side and leave the back for writing on, whichever way you find my tags. I just quite fancied this being double-sided, so I will tack this down. Stitch around the image, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how I've finished everything off. So if you've made it this far, thank you, and amazing. This is really quite a long-winded one. So this one finished with a little bit of wedding tulle just tied in the top there. This is what the back looks like, and in this one I've done the tag with a little bit of seam binding in the top. Let's finish that off as I would normally do. And this one, there's a little bit of seam binding at the top here. It needs to be a bigger bow, so I shall change that. And then on the inside, I've just rounded the corners this time, just for a slightly different look. So that's our tag inner envelope with a dangle. Thank you all for watching if you're here, and I'll see you all again soon.